What's up guys? Welcome back. We're doing another video today. I'm Shika. I'm a travel lifestyle content creator, social media mentor, podcaster, YouTuber, and I am here going to be talking to you guys about how I was able to do full-time traveling around the world. And I didn't really notice it, to be honest with you. I didn't really consider that. I considered traveling, or my style of traveling, a lifestyle, until more and more people started to tell me and being like, Shika, not traveling for 2 months is not normal. That is like someone who travels a lot. So I was like, maybe I should do a video. And I thought, why not do a video for you guys who are wanting to travel full-time, travel more. Maybe you like your 9-to-5 job, but you just want to travel and take advantage of it. We're gonna go over all that stuff for you, honey, and get into all that stuff. So let's get into it. So number one, the first thing is pick where you want to go. That's number one. Why do you want to travel? Where do you want to go? Where are you thinking? South America, Southeast Asia, Europe. Keep in mind when you look up those places of where you want to go, you're going to kind of get an idea of what the budget is. You know what I'm saying? If you're traveling more, or like you want to travel longer, most likely you might not want to go to like, you know, north of Europe, you know, Norway or Switzerland or Europe in general, possibly. You might want to start somewhere like Southeast Asia or South America, Central America. Those places are going to be a little bit more cost effective for a longer period of time. Also keeping in mind, what time are you hoping to jump on the plane? Is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it a few months from now? Is it going to be peak season? These are all things to consider when you're thinking of traveling more or traveling full time. I've been traveling full time for the past over a year. I didn't, honestly, again, like I said, I thought it was a lifestyle. I was like, yeah, I'm traveling. I want to just travel more. And then the more I talk to people, they're like, you know, you travel a lot. And I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I should, you know, do a video on this and express like how I do this. I'm here in Canada. I get 2 weeks off if I'm lucky. And I was getting maybe Christmas off depending on my job and like if it's busy that time of year. And I just didn't like it. I didn't love it. And for me, like traveling is like a part of me. I love traveling. I love meeting different cultures. I love food. Who doesn't like food, y'all? I love food. Food is my ish. So I thought, why not travel more? So I decided to, at the time, I was kind of taking risk, which is another tip I would give you guys, is kind of have the mindset of taking risk. You're taking this risk for yourself, not for anyone else, for yourself. I know it can be very difficult if you have family and friends who don't travel often and they're thinking you're crazy leaving your job for this, but just know that there's gonna be a job there waiting for you when you get off the plane. There will be other jobs, there's other opportunities, but the thing about traveling, and this is one thing that people don't talk to you about, and I'm gonna give you the good, juicy stuff. So traveling is one of those things that you can do when you're young, but when you get older, you get like back hurts, you can't sit on a plane for 16 hours to Australia anymore. Those things come up, right? So it's better to travel while you're young, while you're able to make those mistakes, when you're able to make risks. You know what I mean? You're healthy, you can travel, you can experience, you can have fun, you know, learn about yourself, learn about what you can do. That's so key. So like I said, write down the place you want to go, know that you're going to take a risk, but also know that you're excited. You're gonna go on a plane, you're going to a place that you don't know, into the unknown. Sounds scary, but it is so exciting. The second thing I was gonna say is make a plan and a due date. Make a contract to yourself. So this is something that I did, great examples in Brazil. I think I mentioned it in one of my other videos, but I went to Brazil about 6 years ago. Man, it's been long. I went again this year, but man, it's been long since the first time, and I lived there for a bit. And I was so terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. So what I did is I made a due date for myself, and I made myself buy my flight ticket 3 months or 4 months prior to when I had to leave. And once I bought the ticket, I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. That's when I'm coming. That's when I'm probably leaving, or it was like a one-way ticket. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I'm actually going to Brazil. And it just changes your perspective. It's like you already took the first layer of that risk that you're scared about. It's like, oh, I could do anything now. Superman, you know what I mean? So take that leap, do it. You will not regret it. And sometimes putting a contract, writing a contract to yourself that I want to go travel on, I don't know, September 1st, 2019 to this place. I will come back at this date, or I don't want to come back. I want to go for a year, or I want to see how it goes, or whatever, and list the places you want to go and make that contract, put it somewhere where you can see it. It will make such a big difference. I did that, and let me tell you, I like bought the ticket sooner than I did, first of all. Second of all, I changed my mindset. All of the things that my friends, my family were saying, don't go to Brazil, it's so dangerous, don't do it, blah, 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 just kind of like didn't even faze me anymore. I'm like, I'm going for myself. And when you have that and you understand that you're traveling for yourself and for your experience and what you're looking for, and that's what you deeply want, it changes it for you. It really changes your perspective. The next thing is cut costs. So now that you've booked, you made your made your contract, you probably booked your ticket, you're about to book your ticket, all that stuff, it's time to cut the cost. This is something people don't talk about, well, do, but don't really. One thing I will say is save up extra money than you intended, and starting that, how you do that is by cutting costs. Figure out and write down 5 priorities that you have. So, for example, my phone bill was skyrocket. I was spending at least, I think $200 and something a month on my phone bill. Ridiculous, I know, like so embarrassing, like really embarrassing. And I was like, this is way too much. So I cut it off. I literally just had WhatsApp, like that was my phone. That $200 for 4 months, man, I'm making bank. That's 800 bucks. That's enough for accommodation for like 3 months in Asia. That's enough for a flight, a round trip in a lot of places around the world, depending on when you're flying. That's enough for a lot of things. That little cushion money, even though maybe you already have the money that you need, or maybe you're broke. Maybe you're broke as ish right now, which is totally fine. If you're a college student, that's cool. You can still travel, but putting that $800 is gonna make a big difference. So cut out the social events you go to, cut out the bills that you don't need to pay, the subscriptions, go through your bank, see what's coming out of your bank every single month. If you don't need that subscription for whatever, cut it out, cut like cold turkey. The second one is take the leap and book that flight. So like I said, I kind of wrote that again, but just book that flight if you haven't at this point. It's so important. Now, if you are that college student or someone who doesn't have enough money right now, cutting the cost might be a good step to do first, obviously, before you book the flight. I like to use Skyscanner, Google Flights, Mundo. Also, while you're at it, we're halfway through, why don't you give this video a thumbs up? Put your notification bells on, you know, if you like my personality, you like me, you like my travel stuff, then you're gonna love this. You know, just like, why not, right? Next step is get rid of ish, which I just said already, but like just get rid of things that don't serve you anymore. Clean up your house. Like there's so much stuff. I'm like looking at my area right now. There's so much stuff that you can just get rid of that's just sitting there building dust. Sell it on Kijiji, make some extra bank for your buck, donate it to a women's shelter, do something with it. Also, if you're deciding to travel long-term, full-time, you're gonna have to get rid of those stuff anyways. Do not spend money on storage. This is one thing that I learned for myself. When I started traveling, I spent about, I think it was $160, almost $200 every single month for just my junk to be in a small little, like, probably like a closet size, 2 closet sizes of stuff that was literally filled to the rim. And I just like was like, too much money. So what I did is I actually luckily had my parents who were willing to take my stuff, so I gave it in for them and they're able to hold the stuff, and then the rest of the stuff I just donated it. These are all the things that I needed. It really just changed my mindset, and as a traveler you'll notice that too, that you can literally survive in a backpack, so why do you need all this stuff anyway? So get your mind ready to be a traveler. And the more you detach yourself from materialistic things, which I find was a very big psychological change for me, the more that I also was just prepared to travel. I was really committed to the idea of me being like traveling full-time or starting to travel more often. And I just didn't care about what people had to say. I was like, you know what, say what you guys say, but I'm traveling. I'm going in 2 months. I'm going in a week. The next thing is choose what type of full-time traveler you want to go into. So now that we kind of go into, you prepared, you know what type of travel you want to do. Maybe you've done the savings. Now you know how you can do your 2 weeks off if you're a full-time traveler, or maybe that you're ready to kind of transition. You're planning that you're going to leave in 2 and 3 months, whatever it is. Now you're at the point of what type of full-time traveler you are. So the more I was researching, one thing that I learned, not everyone is traveler like me. Like for me, I have a home base here. Like this is like my home. I consider it my home, but I also consider the world my home. So if I'm able to travel because of my work, I can just leave and go. Keep in mind though, I said leave and go in parentheses here because there are other factors as a just a traveler, which I will go into quickly. And if you guys want me to go more into it for another video, I'm down to do that, but I obviously don't want to keep you guys here for 30-40 minutes. So the next thing is, so there's different travelers. There's one that's called travel work visa. So as you guys probably know, Australia is probably one of the most popular places to do this. A travel work visa allows you to travel and work, meaning you can travel, you can work at a place usually for a period of a year. However, there is a clause in there. You have to be up to the age of under 35. I think it's 18 to 35 for most countries, because that's considered as youth. And then you can also, when you are traveling, you have to travel with one or work with one employer every 6 months and switch again. So that was with Australia. So what I've heard from a lot of people here in Canada or North America or other places, they will go travel and live in Australia for, you know, at a hostel or serving job or whatever for about, you know, and minimum wage is pretty high up there. So they would do that for about maybe 6 months, and then they would leave for go to Asia for a bit, which is super cheap, live there and see how long their money can last, fly back and do it again. So this is great for you, for any of you guys who are kind of a little bit nervous for it and you still want some kind of security. Maybe you can work overseas in a new country like Australia and then travel after and come back. The second thing is travel for some time. So what that means is, like, a lot of you guys who probably love your job, if you love your 9-to-5 job and you want to travel, there's an option for you. You can take a sabbatical, that word. Which basically what that means is you take a year off or time off and you tell your employer, and basically you still have your job. A lot of cool places, if you've been working at a place for a while, or maybe possibly you could do your job remote, which we'll go for the next tip. There are some options with that, but what that does is you can really just allow yourself to have a year or a year off to kind of reset yourself, figure out what you want to do. If you want to keep doing your career, maybe just work on yourself, and that's usually what you can do. You can write a letter to your employer, have a meeting with them and just tell them this is what you're deciding, and then before you leave you want to do and write a letter as well. One thing that I learned from the Bagger brothers, who are travel content creators, which really inspire me and I love them, they actually said that a good little tip is to send a postcard from a place that you are from or you're visiting from to your employer, just to say, hey, you know, I'm kind of thinking about how, you know, how my, just touching base, how things are going, how life's going overseas, and I just wanted to come and say hi from Japan. And it's just a nice little gesture that makes a big difference. So this one is really good if you have a really sick employer and they love what you do, and you know, you can give them that option. And I have heard a lot of people that sometimes if they work in an admin job or social media or something, or finance or whatever, accounting, they can actually have an agreement with their employer where they want them to stay, so they'll allow them to be remote, which goes to our next tip: traveling and being nomadic, so working on the road. This is really great. I have a few things that I want to let you guys know and be honest with you guys that I felt like a lot of people were not opening up with. So one thing that I wanted to let you guys know is being, like, number one, it's awesome because it's your own schedule. You're able to focus things out, like kind of figure out if you want to travel to, I don't know, Nicaragua next week, you can do that. You just have to make sure you work a little bit more and then be on the road and work at the right time and be online when you need to. And just make sure that you have your stuff organized while you're traveling, but then for the half of the day, you can travel out to a new country, do adventures, you know, excursions, hike, all that fun stuff, and enjoy amazing food while working. So it's kind of a win-win. You get your money and you're able to travel at the same time and be productive. There are also other great pros as well, is like when you are ready to come home, if that's something that you're willing to eventually at a certain time, you could definitely have some kind of, you know, resume or something that you can show employers saying, hey, I've had experience doing work. I've not only been traveling, but I've also been, you know, an administrator or whatever for the past year or 2 years. So you do have some relevant current experience that you can give to employers. It's also great for people who want to be freelancers, if you want to be a writer and stuff. There are these options. I usually always drop down and give you an example of, I think in another video, but correct me if I'm wrong, freelancer.com, loved it. That's where I started my journey. I was still working my 9-to-5 job and I started doing freelancer because I loved writing. So I started writing blog posts for people. A lot of businesses need that. And that's how I started getting, you know, paid. And that wasn't some money that I relied on, but just money that I saved to the side for traveling later on to get me adjusted to switching over to a full-time traveler. So that was a big change for me, and it was such an awesome change as well. Now the cons with this, which I'm gonna go over just because of my experience with you guys. So one of the cons that I will say for you guys is when you are traveling, you have to keep in mind the time zone. you have to keep in mind that you are, you know, you are still employed, right? So sometimes you might not necessarily have a day where you are able to do the excursions. Maybe you'll be in a cafe all day one day and then you'll be doing excursions the next day half day. So there is like a switch with that, but you know, you are getting paid and you are able to work anywhere in the world, which is awesome, but you do have to keep in mind the time zones depending on your job and other things like that. So that was one thing that was a big kind of shock for me, because you know, I was like really excited and going into it, and then I was like, man, like it's actually hard doing meetings for people who are in North America and Europe when I'm all the way in Asia and they're how many hours behind me. So it was very difficult, and I did make a little bit of like, it was a hard time for me, to be honest with you, and I went through a lot mentally. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to like continue this and all this stuff. So that's one thing that I will keep in mind with you guys. So out of those 3 options, those are great little options as well. I will add an extra one. It's called Workaway. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's one of my favorite websites ever, and I'm actually planning to do it in the future. It allows you to do an internship or volunteering for free accommodation and food, and you just have to register. I think it's $25 for the year, and any place that you want to go to in the world that's either expensive to stay in, or maybe that you want to stay long term, or maybe you're running out of money, this is a great option. I met a lot of people in Portugal when I was traveling there that did this. I also met a lot of people in South America who does it a lot. Like South America is really huge on this. So anyways, to kind of go all in all, I was really able to do this honestly by going with my gut, because I obviously had my friends and family who were like, what are you doing? You need to get a government job. What are you doing? And it was very difficult for me, because the first few months I was obviously, I'm not gonna be honest with you guys, I was struggling a lot. I was working my butt off. I was doing jobs maybe necessarily that I didn't necessarily want to do, but more for me to just travel, like being an admin or a virtual assistant. And then eventually I was like, I got into what I wanted to do full time, because I was just starting to do my social media mentoring. And then when I started to get more clients, I could drop all the other things that were helping me to pay my bills and traveling and fully do it full time. When the camera decides to stop, you know, you gotta love it. So as I was saying, I decided to do it full time, and I was like, this is for me, this is what I want to do, I love it. And that's really how it got started. But I want you guys to push that negativity out and just do it. It's not gonna be easy. However, if you plan it out and just really cut those costs, oh my God, we spend too much money every day. And do you, because traveling is the best decision I've made. It's made me a more down-to-earth person. I've been able to be more aware of cultures, of people, of their stories. I've just been more aware, and it's the world, and traveling is the best textbook to read, is the best way to say it. I want to keep sharing it with you guys. I'm hoping that I'll be able to share Guatemala, which I'll be going in August, so stay tuned for that. If you definitely want to check that out, make sure you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up so I can give you more travel videos and stuff. But yeah, I really had a great time doing this video with you guys and sharing this story. Come say hi on Instagram at Chica_Chica, and let me know down below what other travel tips you want to hear about, or travel topics on this channel. And then also, if you're deciding to go full time, and what are some worries that you're having, or what are some things, or you know, questions family and friends are asking you, or maybe problems that you're having, I am here to help. I want to help you guys out. I've been there, I've done it, I know, so I want to help you. Anyways, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna head out, leave, and do my work and do that ish, and I will talk to you guys super soon. Later. Ciao.